Welcome to Swadharma IAS Academy. Today we have a highly critical international relations topic for your UPSC preparation.
We really do. This is a big one.
Yeah, we are stepping right into the geopolitical landscape of May 2026, and, well, West Asia is undergoing a tectonic geopolitical shift.
Absolutely tectonic. It's rewriting the map.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive session is to analyze a massive stack of international relations sources, expert commentary, and diplomatic statements to unpack the 2020 Abraham Accords, former U.S. President Donald Trump's 2026 mandate, Pakistan's staunch rejection of this, and, of course, India's strategic positioning.
And before we really get into the mechanics of this, I just want to establish our analytical baseline here for the aspirants.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at some deeply ideological, intensely politically charged statements from various nations today. And our approach, as always, is strictly analytical. We aren't taking sides or endorsing any of these viewpoints.
Right.
We're just unpacking the sources to give you, the listener, the objective depth you need for your mains examination.
That's a great disclaimer. Because, dear aspirants, you need this for your GS Paper 2 syllabus, specifically concerning bilateral groupings and the policies of developed countries affecting India's interests.
You cannot afford a surface-level understanding here.
No, you can't. And to understand the 2026 crisis, well, you have to trace the origins back to the geopolitical shifts of 2020. You really cannot understand the current shockwave without understanding the original earthquake.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So let's start with the foundation. The 2020 Abraham Accords. What was the historical context before that?
Well, prior to 2020, the Arab world strictly adhered to what was known as the Three No's. This was established right after the 1967 war.
Okay, what were the three no's?
It meant no peace with Israel, no recognition of Israel, and no negotiations with Israel, at least not until a separate Palestinian state was formed based on pre-1967 borders.
Wow, so an absolute diplomatic deep freeze.
Exactly. It was the bedrock of pan-Arab solidarity for decades. But then in 2020, brokered by the U.S. during Donald Trump's first term, the Abraham Accords completely shattered that solidarity.
Right, because the UAE and Bahrain and I think Sudan and Morocco later on formally recognized Israel.
They did. And it wasn't just a handshake. They established diplomatic embassies, direct flights, and crucially, intelligence sharing.
Yeah, the sources mentioned Israel's Iron Dome technology actually moving to the UAE, right?
Yes, exactly. And the name, the Abraham Accords, was chosen very specifically. Prophet Abraham is a common ancestor in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Oh, so it was meant to signify a reunion of descendants.
Precisely. It was brilliant diplomatic branding.
But branding aside, why did they do it? I mean, why abandon decades of ideology?
Well, it was a mix of economic modernization and tech integration. Think AI, cybersecurity, and advanced agriculture. But the biggest driving force was actually a shared threat.
Iran.
Yes, Iran.
Yeah.
The Arab nations looked across the Gulf and decided to prioritize their national interest and security over pan-Arab ideology.
Dear aspirants, think of this like a massive, decades-old trade union suddenly breaking its own strike. They did it because the economic incentives and the security threats from a rival union, being Iran, just became too great to ignore.
That is a fantastic analogy.
Thanks. But I have to ask, if this was voluntary in 2020, how did it become such a geopolitical pressure cooker today, in May 2026?
Well, that voluntary economic pact has now escalated into a strict ultimatum.
Right, because of Donald Trump.
Yes. Trump is attempting to build what he calls a grand Middle East strategic architecture. And he has demanded that joining the Abraham Accords is now mandatory for Muslim-majority nations.
Mandatory? That's a huge shift if they want to be part of the upcoming U.S.-Iran peace deal. Right?
Yeah, exactly. He specifically targeted Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, and most notably for our discussion, Pakistan.
So it's essentially an ultimatum.
It is. It essentially boils down to do a deal or finish. If these nations do not normalize ties with Israel, they will be totally excluded from the new U.S.-Israeli regional security umbrella.
I mean, Trump even suggested that eventually Iran itself should join the Accords, which the geopolitical analysts in our sources found quite amusing.
Yeah, structurally, that's absurd right now.
But wait, from a UPSC perspective, we have to question the sheer mechanics of this. Can you actually force a country to fundamentally alter its foreign policy and recognize a state it ideologically despises just by threatening to leave it out of a security umbrella?
That is the exact limit of coercive diplomacy. You can apply immense pressure, but when that hits an immovable domestic ideology, you get extreme volatility.
Which brings us to our primary case study, Pakistan.
Yes, Pakistan's reaction is a masterclass in the clash between economic desperation and ideological constraints.
Let's get into the details from the sources. Pakistan's defense minister, Khawaja Asif, fiercely rejected the proposal, right?
He did. He stated the proposal is absolutely not acceptable. He actually called Israel a cancerous country responsible for genocide.
Wow. Those are incredibly strong words.
Very strong. He refused to sign any agreement that conflicts with Pakistan's fundamental ideologies.
And we have to unpack that ideological constraint for the aspirants. Pakistan's identity since 1947 is rooted entirely in religion.
Right. So recognizing Israel means completely abandoning their demand for a two-state solution based on pre-1967 borders.
It's literally printed on their passports, isn't it? Valid for all countries except Israel.
Yes, it's baked into the national psyche. But there is a deeper analytical point here from our sources, which is the Kashmir paradox.
Oh, this is crucial. Aspirants, listen closely to this part.
Pakistan essentially treats Palestine equally to Kashmir in its diplomatic rhetoric. So if Pakistan officially accepts Israel's occupation of Palestinian lands by signing the accords,
then they completely lose the moral and diplomatic high ground to oppose India's stance on Kashmir.
Exactly. The sources had a brilliant quote for this. How can I fight for a house in the north when I have already sold my neighbor's house in the west?
That is perfectly stated, but they are under massive domestic and economic pressure too, aren't they?
Immense pressure. Leaders like Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief Asim Munir desperately want U.S. funds. The economy is teetering.
But if they sign the accords to get the money,
It could trigger a military coup or massive civil unrest, and it would cause a huge surge in Islamic mobilization by violent militant groups like the TTP.
so they are trapped. And what's incredibly interesting here, and a great point for your mains answers, is that Pakistan actually agreed to join Trump's Gaza Board of Peace,
Yes, they did.
which is such a fascinating hypocrisy. They are likely eyeing the billion-dollar funding attached to that board while simultaneously rejecting the Abraham Accords. They want the economic carrots, but are terrified of the domestic stick.
It's a masterclass in trying to have it both ways, but they are stuck in a geopolitical dead end.
Right. And you really can't complete a UPSC answer on this without analyzing the impact on Indian foreign policy. Let's pivot to the India angle.
India is the perfect contrast here. India has successfully pursued a dehyphenation strategy.
Break that down for us. What does dehyphenation look like in practice?
It means maintaining robust, entirely independent relationships with both Israel and the Arab world without letting the relationship with one dictate the terms of the other.
So we aren't picking sides, we're working with everyone, which ties directly into India's Link West policy.
Exactly. India has aggressively capitalized on the Abraham Accords by forming the I2U2 grouping. That's India, Israel, the UAE, and the USA.
People are calling that the West Asian Quad, right?
Yes, they are. And it focuses heavily on economic and technological cooperation. You see, peace in West Asia directly benefits India.
Well, yeah, it secures our crude oil supplies.
It does. But it also protects the massive Indian diaspora working in the Gulf and opens up huge tech partnerships.
We also have to mention the IMEC corridor, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor.
Absolutely crucial. The IMEC connects India to the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and eventually Europe.
And the strategic beauty of IMEC is that it physically bypasses highly volatile maritime choke points, right? Like the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb.
Yes, it routes trade over land, avoiding the Iranian threat and the Houthi threats entirely.
So to summarize India's position, it's like a powerful analogy. While Pakistan is trapped in a geopolitical dead end, completely paralyzed by its own ideology, India is building a multi-lane economic highway right through the middle of the desert.
That's a great way to visualize it.
India's strategic autonomy allows it to be everyone's partner without being anyone's proxy.
That is the textbook definition of strategic autonomy.
All right, this has been an incredibly detailed deep dive. Let's briefly recap why this matters for the listener.
It matters because you need to understand how Trump's 2026 push forces nations to choose between ideology and economic survival.
Right, and how India expertly navigates that exact same divide to its own benefit.
And before we go, I want to leave the listener with a final unmentioned geopolitical thread to ponder for your essay papers.
Oh, please do.
If the economic pressure continues, and Saudi Arabia, which is the leader of the Sunni Arab world and custodian of the holy cities, if they eventually sign the Abraham Accords, what happens to Pakistan?
Wow.
Do they become entirely isolated from their own ideological allies? Or do they completely collapse under the weight of their own paradoxes? Think about that for your essay papers.
That is an amazing question to leave them with. Keep studying hard, aspirants. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Swadharma IAS Academy for more premium UPSC content. See you in the next session.